For centuries, we've regarded sleep as nothing more than a way to recharge our batteries. But all of that is changing.
If sleep wasn't important, it's probably one of the most significant mistakes that evolution ever made.
Once seen as a blank screen, the sleeping brain is now emerging as an energetic and purposeful machine.
In parts of sleep, the brain is at least as active and maybe more active than it is during waking.
Around the world, researchers are attempting to penetrate the mysterious world of sleep and decipher its secrets. Secrets that could change our lives.
I think that what happens during sleep permits what happens in the waking brain.
I'm Dr. Jennifer Gardy. Join me on a surprising odyssey.
This is remarkable. Wow.
From playing Chopin to playing with puppets. From a city that never sleeps to an isolation chamber in the Colorado Rockies. Come with me as I begin a journey to discover why we sleep. Deep in the German countryside lies one of the most unique research centers in the world. Inside this compound, scientists uncovered one of the first clues that sleep might be about more than just conserving energy.
That's very nice.
Dr. Niels Rattenborg has spent a decade researching here at the Max Planck Institute, but he isn't your typical sleep scientist. That's because Dr. Rattenborg doesn't study humans, he studies birds.
Birds are an excellent group of animals in which to study sleep because they've evolved sleep patterns remarkably similar to those in mammals, including ourselves.
While all animals sleep, scientists like Dr. Rattenberg now know that only birds have slow-wave and REM sleep just like us. It's why he's studying the humble Canada goose, a bird that helped him understand what evolution revealed about sleep.
Geese over here.
And he wanted me to demonstrate what he was the first to discover.
So you see those geese sleeping?
Yeah?
You think you can sneak up on them?
Seems pretty easy. Sleeping geese, smart human.
They're starting to look.
But these geese prove far more elusive than I expect. Whenever I get too close, they wake up and head for the hills.
I give up. That's impossible.
Some already went back to sleep.
I know.
According to Dr. Rattenberg, the geese evaded me because of an amazing feat of evolution. It's called unihemispheric sleep. Whales, seals, and dolphins do it too. While one half of the brain stays awake and alert and one eye open, the other side of the brain is in deep sleep and the corresponding eye is closed. Given this extraordinary evolutionary adaptation, Dr. Rattenborg believes that what's happening inside the sleeping brain must be vital to life itself. And he's not alone. Dr. Sabine Seehagen often spends more time on the road than in her lab at Ruhr University in Western Germany. That's because her research subjects have evolved to spend more time asleep than awake. Babies nap for up to 16 hours a day, with waking periods lasting for just an hour or two. From the bird research, it was clear that sleep was playing some vital role. Dr. Seehagen wanted to find out if it was helping babies consolidate and retain memories.
Infants, they have to learn so much in the first few years of life, and they develop in such striking ways, really, every day a bit more.
We were interested to see whether one function of sleep might be to facilitate memory processing.
To discover that, Dr. Seehagen chooses a task that requires baby Moritz to remember 3 interrelated steps.
We use a hand puppet and show them 3 actions. We show them how to take off a mitten, how to shake the mitten, and how to replace a mitten.
What Dr. Seehagen is attempting to do is trigger the memory processing system. The hippocampus is located deep within our brain. This is where specific memories are encoded and stored. The neocortex is the large outer part of our brain. It establishes associations between memories. Dr. Seehagen and her assistant Carol teach the exact same memory processing task to several other babies.
Sollen wir das angucken?
As soon as the testing is over, some of the babies stay awake, while others, like baby Moritz, go down for a nap. For Dr. Seehagen, this is a rare opportunity to discover whether the sleeping brain is doing something unique with the information it's just taken in.
We were thinking that if sleep really helps them to retain their memories, then only those infants who napped right away, soon after learning, would remember the actions, whereas infants who would wait with their nap would not remember the actions.
Carla hasn't had a chance to nap yet. Like all of the babies, she has just 90 seconds to repeat the action she saw earlier. But Carla shows no sign of remembering the 3 steps. Jonah is another baby who hasn't napped.
Before we started our study, there was not very much knowledge about how sleep might be important for infants' memories. And I'm very interested to see that infants who wait with a nap, they did not show signs of remembering what we've shown them before.
Across town, baby Moritz is just up from his 4-hour nap. Now it's his turn.
Guck mal.
Without any prompting, he gets to work. And nails it.
Super mitgemacht!
Dr. Seehagen and her colleagues conducted this test on more than 200 infants, with identical results.
Well, I think it shows several amazing things about babies, actually. Until a few decades ago, many people even doubted whether infants can form longer-term memory. But I think our study shows that sleep seems to play a really fundamental role in early memory processing, and I mean that's a very fundamental task for infants to, to build long-term memories so that they can use them at a later point.
George Coe is in the midst of a Harvard University tradition. He's cramming. George is trying to learn Chopin's third scherzo, But he's running out of time.
So this week, I got slammed with a lot of work, and I have a performance tomorrow, and I haven't been able to practice much.
For George, the solution is a no-brainer.
So I'm probably not going to sleep tonight. I'm probably going to hear the birds chirp in the morning.
But if babies need sleep to process memories and learn, is the same true for adults like George Coe?
Jen, why don't we put you over here and Jemai?
It's a question that drives the research of Dr. Robert Stickgold.
A really simple test for you guys to do.
Dr. Stickgold is one of the world's leading sleep scientists.
So put in your first name or your initials, your
To
choice.
discover whether memory processing is sleep-dependent, Dr. Stickgold needs to create a complex learning and motor skill task.
Now, as soon as you press another key, you're going to start.
What he decides on is a very simplified version of performing Chopin's Third Scherzo.
And your job, take your left hand, put your 4 fingers on the keys 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're just going to type that number sequence over and over again. 4, 1, 3, 2, 4. Why don't we just have you both start together now?
Both Jemai and I are going to do this task a second time, but I'll get to sleep in between and she won't. Then we'll see who has the bigger improvement in speed and accuracy. It seems hard to believe that just one night of sleep will help me learn the sequence and make me faster. But tomorrow will tell. The next morning, I'm back. Jemai did her retest yesterday afternoon. Now, it's my turn. It all comes down to who has improved more.
And here you are. Let's take a look at this.
Okay.
First, Jemai's results.
On her second trial with no sleep, look at here, she's showing no improvement at all.
But I was a different story.
Then look at this, you just zoom up there. You're up to 23. It's a huge improvement in terms of speed. It's not just academics and students who are learning all the time. We're all learning all the time. Every time you start your car, you're learning a little bit more about how long you have to turn the key, how much you have to press the gas. Every time you turn a corner, you're retooling your accuracy at doing that. So we're learning all the time, and we don't even know it.
When we sleep after learning, our brain consolidates that memory so we can retrieve it easily. The more complex the learning task, the bigger the benefit we get from sleep. But when we don't sleep enough, that information never even gets filed.
If you don't get enough sleep the night after you learn, you are not going to show the potential benefits from sleep, even if you sleep all you want for the rest of the week. It has to come on that first night. So what we're learning is that night by night, we need that sleep, or we lose everything.
I'm not the only one who benefited from some shut-eye. Instead of pulling an all-nighter, George Coe went to bed. According to Dr. Stickgold's research, it was exactly the right thing to do.
When I tell people that we learn a lot while we're asleep, they think that's kind of an oxymoron, that you can't learn while you're asleep. But in fact, this is just your brain doing what it evolved to do. I think the brain carries out its most sophisticated memory and brain functions while we sleep.
Given the power of sleep to help us learn, scientists at a unique biosphere in Colorado wondered whether it also had the capability to control how much we eat. What better place to find out why we sleep than in a city that never does?
Come on here! Come on!
If there's one place on Earth where we're willing to sacrifice a little bit of sleep in the hopes of gaining something better, it's here, Las Vegas. But this 24-hour town isn't the only place we're making this kind of trade-off. Without realizing it, we might be losing something far more precious than just a few dollars.
Dr. Scott Kilgore is a professor of psychiatry, but he's also a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army. Treating soldiers who fought on the front lines made Dr. Kilgore realize that they provided a unique window on the world of sleep.
We were doing sleep research, and most people were just focusing in on reaction time and simple cognitive processes. But what about this other side of which choice to make? You know, do you drop the bomb now? Do you pull the trigger? Do you not pull the trigger? Because these are not cold decisions. You don't make them like a computer does. They're very emotionally charged situations, and we need more information about how lack of sleep affects emotional functioning.
At the heart of this quest lies a seeming contradiction. As it turns out, our emotions don't cause us to make bad decisions. Most of the time, they actually help us make good ones. Every day, I make thousands of choices, many of them intuitively. My intuition is guided by a special type of memory, an emotional one. When I experience something, my brain flags it as either positive or negative. When it's time to make a decision, these emotional memories help me.
If you watch those old Star Trek episodes, you'd see that in situations, Spock always had the logical decision-making process. He was like a computer, so he didn't let emotions affect his decisions. Whereas Kirk, he could tap into that, gut feeling in his pit of his stomach and make the right command decision.
To get inside the brain where these gut feelings, these emotional memories are created, Dr. Kilgore came up with an ingenious experiment based on a specially designed gambling task.
Now, I'm going to visit Dr. Kilgore and put that task to the test, and this time, what happens in Vegas won't be staying in Vegas, all in the name of science.
So the basic idea here is that there are 4 decks of cards.
Okay.
And your job is to try to win as much money as possible and avoid losing any money in the process.
Hello, $100.
But what no one's told me is that 2 of the decks will give me big wins, but even bigger losses. The other 2 decks deliver small wins, but smaller losses. To come out ahead, I've got to rely on those gut feelings to help me make the right decisions.
All right, let's see.
Turns out, I did all right. I took home $1,200.
So this is your baseline. And so now what I want you to do is to go out and have some fun tonight.
I can do that. It's time to get sleep deprived. A little over a century ago, we slept, on average, 9 hours a night. Today, that's down to less than 7. So my night on the town is just a quick way to get me to where most of us already are, into a state of serious sleep deprivation.
Jennifer, are you still awake?
no sleeping.
Good morning, Doc.
Hey, Jen, how you doing?
I gotta be honest, I'm really tired. I think I'm like a 9 out of a 10 on the tired scale.
So, did you get hitched?
No.
After 24 hours without sleep, it's time to do the gambling task again.
Hello, cards. My old friends.
This time, I keep losing track of the decks, and no matter how much I try, I can't seem to stay focused. Yesterday, I won $1,200. Today, I lose $800.
Whoa, I sucked.
The reason can be found here in my ventromedial prefrontal cortex. This is where those emotional memories are incorporated with my reasoning to guide my decision-making. Normally, this area is very active, but after 24 hours without sleep, this critical part of my brain has simply shut down.
It's not active anymore, so it's not able to turn on and integrate your emotions to guide your cognitions and your thoughts and your decisions. So your judgments start to get impaired. You don't know the right answer. You can't rely on your gut to tell you that's the way I should go.
Yeah, it was impossible to tune in onto those, the good decks and the bad decks.
Right, the ability to integrate the emotions with decision-making becomes affected. So you just flounder.
What's fascinating is that Dr. Kilgore found this same impaired judgment in people with stroke damage in this exact same part of the brain.
So in essence, sleep deprivation is almost a temporary brain injury.
Yeah, it's basically very much like your brain damage, but getting a good night's sleep can actually reverse the process and get you back to your baseline.
Well, that's good, because you know what I could use right now is my baseline level. I would really like to get back there.
By delving deep into our brain, Dr. Kilgore has discovered a direct relationship between sleep and the emotional switching system that guides our decision-making.
We don't understand everything yet, but so much of the work that we've been doing shows that even cutting your sleep down by a couple of hours alters the connectivity in the brain, and that in turn affects your emotional intelligence and your decision-making and all these areas of life.
Lights off in 3, 2, 1.
For 2.5 years, volunteers have lived here at the University of Colorado inside a kind of biosphere. For 2 weeks at a time, they sleep, eat, and work in this lab, isolated from the outside world. Everything they do is carefully monitored. They can't take a nap or eat a calorie without it being measured.
Hey, Chris, let's go ahead. Let's get started. All right, sounds good.
This experiment is the brainchild of neuroscientist Dr. Ken Wright. If sleep deprivation can cause temporary brain damage, Dr. Wright wondered if it could also disrupt another system regulated by our brain, the one that controls how much we eat.
1.5 billion adults worldwide, about 150 million school-age children, and 43 million preschool children are overweight or obese. And over half of our adult population right now is not getting that minimum of 7 hours a night.
Hey Jake, just checking in with you. How's it going tonight so far?
It's going good.
Dr. Wright created this isolation chamber to take volunteers deep into sleep deprivation to see if that would have an impact on their weight. For a week now, this group has been allowed to sleep 9 hours a night
Okay, big boy, time to wake
and
up.
eat as much food as they want. But now it's time for a radical change.
Yeah, what do you think?
The volunteers are about to have their sleep cut by nearly 50%. For the next week, they'll get just 5 hours a night.
I'll give you a countdown. I'll dim the lights and then give you a countdown. Morning, Jake.
Good morning.
Hey, Grace. How's the subject going today?
As the 50% cut in sleep begins to take a toll, Dr. Wright notices a change in the amount the volunteers are eating.
So as we've been following people's food intake across these last 4 days, we're seeing something remarkable. Their food intake is going up, so they're eating more.
And not just at meal times. The volunteers are also consuming more snacks. A lot more.
What we're starting to see is that they're eating more after dinner than they do at any meal across the entire day. So it's as if they're eating 4 meals a day rather than just 3.
But what's most fascinating for Dr. Wright is the impact on the 2 hormones that regulate how much we eat. Ghrelin and leptin are called the hunger hormones. Ghrelin signals the brain when it's time to eat. Leptin tells the brain when the body has enough stored energy and it's time to stop eating. The lack of sleep seems to be causing a meltdown in this critical part of our weight regulation system. As the volunteers eat more, both ghrelin and leptin are telling the brain it's time to stop eating. But these messages aren't getting through. And the amount of weight gained by the volunteers is stunning.
For these participants, after just 5 days of getting too little sleep, they gained 0.8 kilograms. It used to be thought that sleep was just for us to feel alert during the day and for us to think clearly and perform cognitively at our best. But unfortunately, when people are not getting enough sleep, they eat more. And sleep loss is known now to contribute to that risk of gaining weight. People recognize that sleep is something that they can easily give up. But when they make that choice, they're not always thinking about the long-term consequences of that. While they may get sleepy, the effects of developing heart disease, the effects of developing obesity, those are down the road.
Sleep regulates our weight and guides our decisions, but does it have an impact on another key function controlled by our brain, dreaming? Scientists are now trying to discover if our dream world plays an important role in our waking lives. Dr. Antonio Zadra can't remember a time in his life when he wasn't intrigued by dreams.
Dreams have always fascinated humankind, and so people have always been curious about, since the dawn of history, about where dreams come from, how are they formed, do they have any meaning?
We spend 52,000 hours of our lives dreaming, 6 solid years. Dr. Zadra is convinced that within this vast ocean of dreaming lies the key to its function. To unlock the secrets of our dreams, Dr. Zadra first had to find a way to enter this mysterious world. People like artist James Simon turned out to be the key. Along with nearly 100 others, James is part of a unique group. He's one of Dr. Zadra's dreamers.
But I'm aware in a dream that this raven has a propensity to lunge for a person's eyes as an instinct, as a reflex.
Dr. Zadra has collected and assessed an astonishing 10,000 dreams from people like James Simon. He discovered that women have more nightmares than men and that we dream about different things. Women about relationships and men about calamities. He's also uncovered that dreams provide a window into our psychological well-being.
The more negative emotions you have in your dreams, the more negative interactions, aggressive interactions you have with other characters in your dreams, the less happy you tend to be, or the more anxious or depressed you tend to be.
Taken together, Dr. Zadra's discoveries reveal that dreams are not the random and chaotic occurrences most of us think they are.
When you look at people's dreams, you see that there is more order in them in the sense that you see a continuation between what's going on during wakefulness and the content in their dreams.
Both Dr. Zadra and sleep scientist Dr. Robert Stickgold believe the connection between our waking lives and our dream world is a critical clue to the function of dreams.
It's when we sleep, and in part when we dream, that we normally figure out what the events of our day mean.
Dr. Stickgold believes this is because of an extraordinary conversation that takes place inside our sleeping brain. When we first go to sleep, the memories we've accumulated during the day flow from the hippocampus, where they've been stored and assessed, to the neocortex, where they're associated with other memories. The neocortex kicks into high gear when we dream.
And in that first REM cycle, it's as if the neocortex says back to the hippocampus, oh, that's like what happened last month. It's as if now the front of the brain is telling the hippocampus, okay, you know what? Those details aren't important, or those details are important, and telling the hippocampus what to do with that information, and also working out itself in the neocortex, seeing how things fit together.
To confirm that dreaming really does help us associate memories in order to give them meaning, Dr. Stickgold created a series of unique tests.
In one experiment, Dr. Stickgold trained a group of people to go through a maze. Afterwards, half had a nap and half didn't. Later that day, people came back and ran the maze again. Those that had napped found the exit more quickly. But what got Dr. Stickgold really excited were those people who both napped and dreamt about the maze. They found the exit 10 times faster.
I think what we're seeing now is that dreams, in fact, are a reflection of the kind of processing that the brain does while we sleep. Just us being conscious while we're asleep, and conscious of things that our brain is constructing as stories. And so we're really watching over the shoulder of a film editor. But if you just watch the screen of the editor, it looks crazy like a dream. Things are juxtaposed from different places. You don't know why they're being juxtaposed. Things are being replayed. It's as if the brain, while we're dreaming, is trying to see how things fit together.
According to Dr. Stickgold, this is my sleeping brain giving meaning to the events of my life. Dr. Zadra believes if patterns can be found in this chaos, they have the power to reveal something about my psychological well-being. Before I arrived at his lab, he asked me to keep a dream diary. So, for the last 6 weeks, I've been writing down my dreams.
I had a chance to read over your dreams and try to quantify their contents in terms of the characters we see, the settings, the social interactions.
Dr. Zadra knows very little about me, only that I'm a TV host. But right away, he uncovers my anxieties about solving problems in a dream about a leaking pipe.
So there's all the water, which is a misfortune, not your fault. But you still unplug it, you still get the towels, you still mop it up. And so you're still trying somehow to minimize the damage or to try to bring it under control to whatever extent you can.
Dr. Zadra also totally nails that I worry about outward appearances and about the value of my work. But there's one revelation from my dreams that catches me completely off guard.
In over half of your dreams, there are references to animals. So the fact that there are many animals and the way you interact with them, I would say that you're concerned about animals' well-being. It's not just your dog or your cat if you happen to have one, but that the well-being of animals is something that is dear to you generally.
This is crazy. You're making me all like misty and teary-eyed because this is remarkable, like absolutely remarkable. I have a cat, I have a dog, I love them to pieces. I love all animals. This is remarkable. Wow.
I think this entire exercise for Jen probably made her much more appreciative of the power of dreams and, again, of the order that we can find in dreams and the psychological meanings we can find in dreams. So there's a relationship over time about how well people are functioning and how well they feel, and the content and patterns in their dreams as well.
If sleep allows us to enter the mysterious world of dreams, could it also be involved in one of the brain's greatest unsolved puzzles? Every night, virtually every species on the planet goes to sleep. For the first time, we're beginning to understand how this nightly ritual regulates almost every aspect of our waking lives. But there's one discovery that's eluded researchers, uncovering the core biological function of sleep. For neuroscientist Dr. Jeff Iliff and a team from Rochester University, their quest begins with a baffling clue about a protein that's the key culprit in Alzheimer's disease.
So there's a protein called amyloid beta, which is made in the brain all the time. Now, when you're awake, amyloid beta levels in the brain go up. And when you're asleep during the night, amyloid beta levels in the brain go down.
The question is why? To find out, Dr. Iliff hopes to do what few sleep scientists have ever done before: look directly into the sleeping brain.
We have a very powerful and specialized microscope that can actually shine through the skull into the living brain while it's doing all of its processes.
This is the world of the sleeping brain. What Dr. Iliff sees is a complex network of blood vessels that dive deep into the brain's center, supplying nutrients and oxygen to its cells. But there's something else, something completely unexpected. At night, the brain begins to change.
Something's happening within the tissue itself. The brain cells, the support cells of the brain, are actually shrinking. Okay.
Dr. Iliff believes the team has stumbled upon a clue that may be connected to one of the brain's most puzzling mysteries: how it cleans itself. Like the tributaries of a river, our body relies on the circulatory system to bring nutrients to its trillions of cells. But these cells also produce waste. In a river, sediment settles to the bottom. But in our bodies, we have lymph vessels to collect the waste and carry it through our bloodstream to places like the liver, where it's eliminated.
But there's one part of the body the lymph vessels don't go to, and that's the brain. So how does the brain clean itself?
Dr. Iliff believes the answer is connected to the mysterious changes he observed taking place inside the brain while we sleep. During the day, the brain is protected by a sac filled with fluid that surrounds it. But as Dr. Iliff discovers, at night, this sac empties and the fluid filters through the brain.
What was happening was that the fluid was piggybacking, using the structure of the blood vessels to get access to the entire brain.
But it's what the fluid does that provides Dr. Iliff and his team with an extraordinary breakthrough.
The fluid that's on the outside of the brain, as it flows along those blood vessels and through the brain tissue, it's doing the most amazing thing. It's clearing away, washing away the waste particles in the spaces between the brain cells.
Wow. We can't multitask enough during the day. We have to set something aside. Housekeeping happens at night.
Yeah, it's a very clever way to do really two things with the same structure, both provide nutrients and clear away the waste. But it's unique. No other part of the body uses a plan like this to do these two things.
It's a brain's cleaning system.
It is. It's sort of like a dishwasher for the brain.
But Dr. Iliff and his team aren't done yet. There's still the question of amyloid beta, the protein that started them on this journey. Amyloid beta is one of the waste products produced by the brain. It's also the same protein that builds up in the brains of people suffering from Alzheimer's disease. When Dr. Iliff started this research, he saw levels of amyloid beta rise in the brain during the day and drop at night. Now he knows why. The brain is washing away this dangerous protein while we sleep.
So circling back to the beginning, what does this tell you about Alzheimer's?
Well, it tells us that this process may be part of what's going wrong in patients with Alzheimer's disease. Worsening sleep quality and sleep duration are both associated with worsening amyloid plaque burden, so more amyloid beta building up in the brain. And so the failure of the brain to sort of keep its house clean and clear away these things that it needs to be clearing away during sleep may actually be setting the stage for the development of diseases like Alzheimer's disease.
For the first time, we're realizing that our sleeping brain is the foundation of almost everything we do.
I think sleep is fundamental to life. We're recognizing the importance of sleep for our whole body. Sleep affects everything.
I think that the occurrence of what happens during sleep permits what happens in the waking brain, and that you could not have all of the magic of the waking brain without all of the mystery of the sleeping brain.
We create the meaning of our lives while we sleep. And that's phenomenal.